Now, I.O. is kind of dominating stuff this week.
Yeah.
For obvious reasons, so it's like there's not a lot of Apple news and stuff going around. I mean, granted,
actually, they changed the hard drive format from 7-pin or from 4-pin to 7-pin in the iMac, making it a proprietary connection.
I hadn't heard about that. Really?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Just when they released the WebKit source code, because people were bitching for.
I was glad about that the WebKit source code is now out.
And they fix the Nitro, the JavaScript Nitro speed update.
I hadn't heard about that. If they have, good for them because that. If they have, good for them because that has been a So, what do you want to start with then?
Well,
we can go into any of that.
Oh Christ, I hate these stupid things.
He hates the stupid things.
No, it's this Google asking me more crap. I don't care. I don't want to give them.
No, Google has started doing that. Every single time you log in, hi, would you like to put an auxiliary account? If you don't put an auxiliary account in, you won't be able to recover your stuff. I'm like, you know what? Fuck off, Google.
Yeah. God, man.
I just spent a few hours talking favorably about Google. Now I get to bash on them. You know, this is the iWorld. Fuck Google.
Yeah, let me post you the article for if you want to discuss it. And I will post this in the docs. You see it?
Yep.
So, are we recording?
We started. We may or may not start here. We may just skip forward. But yeah, we started about time.
Alright, so I guess first and foremost, Apple restricts hard drive upgrades in the Thunderbolt iMacs. I don't know why they call them Thunderbolt iMacs.
Because they have Thunderbolt. They have all the iMacs now have either one or two Thunderbolt ports on them, depending on which one you buy. Oh no, but that's the new thing. We're Apple. We have Thunderbolt. We're the only one. Everything is Thunderbolt. 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 Don't confuse it with the cute little dog. You know.
Yeah, really. Well, it says Apple is now using a proprietary cable and proprietary temperature and fan control system that results in the iMac failing a hardware test if replaced. There are two components to these changes. The first is the proprietary 7-pin connector that Apple used to replace the industry standard 4-pin connector. The additional pins are apparently used to connect a proprietary sensor. Second component in Apple branded hard drives to the logic board.
You know, this is exactly like way back on the original iMacs. You know, the CRT, the CRT iMacs. Yeah, remember that drive converter? Like it's like, oh well, just to be different, right, Apple? You know,
weren't we discussing how they should have like a panel that opens nicely up in the back? You take the hard drive out like you would a laptop.
And not only are they not, not only are they not going in that direction, but they're getting worse.
Yes.
Like, how dare you repair it anywhere other than a certified Apple store? You know, maybe I didn't want to take it to a certified Apple store. Maybe I just wanted it fixed. You know.
Yeah. I mean, so hey, it's like there's a guy, a friend of mine on Twitter who posted it's like old ways from the old days coming back. You know.
No, that is literally circa the early aughts, late 90s crap.
Yeah.
I mean, Apple has been king of the dongles since forever. You know, to the point now that they're actually patenting a new kind of dongle. Yeah. You know, but
I remember I used this animation software. It was the first time I ever used a dongle as Lightwave, and their older, years back package of Lightwave would come with a dongle that you had to plug in to use the animation software.
Nice.
So photos show alleged 7th gen Apple iPod Nano with 1.3.
Yeah, this is like the big Apple news for this week with I/O dominating everything. And, you know, I can't tell. Honestly, it wouldn't surprise me if this is completely fake. And it wouldn't surprise...
That's kind of look... Well, you know, lately, rumors have all been spot on. So now I don't even...
Yeah, no, that's the thing. There's 3 things wrong with this, and there's 3 things right with this. Okay? Thing 1 wrong with this is Steve Jobs got on stage and said the Nano doesn't need a camera. And they changed the form factor, and they went for this ultra small form factor. And if Apple added this camera, they'd be saying Steve Jobs is a liar, and of course they've done that before. You know, the future is this. Until the next time I get up here and talk, then the future is this. And what I said before doesn't matter. You know, it's like that's also right, but it's also wrong. And the other thing is, if they did this, it would actually mean that they wouldn't be able to make it that millimeter thinner that they always try and do. You know, it's now a nanometer thinner. If they did this, no, it can't get a nanometer thinner.
Well, if the camera goes back, I would say that the demographics, you know, their consumers they're probably finding that there's a pretty large consumer demand for it, which would then speak volumes of, you know, conversation I had today about, well, there's cell phones and then there's smartphones, and yet the cell phones are still hugely the larger portion of the cell phone market versus the smartphone market. And here we are arguing iOS versus Android versus whatever. And it's funny that the larger market is clearly not a smartphone yet. So.
Yeah. Well, no, but the other thing that's going to be weird on this is the camera worked on the old Nano because you had that track wheel. On the new Nano, I'm not sure the camera works because you're going to be doing everything through it through a device with no buttons.
Right. Well, I don't know.
And I'm like, I'm like, okay, yeah, we put the camera back, but would you honestly want to use it?
There are people. That's what I'm saying. I think Apple's really good at satisfying consumer demographics, and they've always had great inventory control. They've shown that.
I didn't put it in here, but there's actually a story talking about Apple's kind of lost control of their inventory control and that they're having supply problems right now with some things.
Well, they have supply problems for parts coming in out of things like from Japan, and they cannot control on that end.
Well, yeah, I'm not saying there isn't mitigating factors, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that I can totally see. You know. But I'm saying they're not going to end up having huge surpluses that, in essence, what killed them in the 90s. I don't know, millions and tens of millions of dollars worth of computers.
I almost think Apple understocks some things, and I don't know if, like you say, theory 1 I have is they're doing it on purpose to deliberately short stock stuff. But your point's also valid. Apple may be deathly afraid to have a standing inventory because of the fuck-ups they did in the 90s that basically, you know, they got so much information from licensing out their OS, but due to being overstocked on stuff they should have never bought, they had no capital.
They got everything wrong. Yeah, they had too much of one computer, too little of another.
Yeah.
You know, people
by the time they had straightened that out, they had no money. You know.
Well, Apple loses ruling in the Kodak patent case. Eastman Kodak Company digital camera technology doesn't violate Apple Inc.'s patent rights, a U.S. International Trade Commission judge said. Neither of the 2 patents in Apple's case before the ITC were being infringed, and one of the patents is invalid, Judge Robert Rogers in Washington said today. So,
I remember that suit, and it's just, yeah, well, no, most of these things, Apple, nanny, boo, boo, I own this, yada, 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 yada. It's like, hey, no, you don't. It's like, and like you said, the one patent wasn't infringed upon, and the other one was a patent that never should have been issued in the first place. You know, please do your job, patent office. Stop issuing patents that are not valid, that never should be issued, because all you're doing is making good, honest companies waste millions, if not billions of dollars on frivolous patent suits, which at the end of the day doesn't necessarily hurt them, because most of them, what do? Oh, well, they just pass the cost directly onto us.
Yeah.
That's the real end result of the patent office not doing their job. We're all paying way more than we should for crap because it's built into the price of everything, dealing with frivolous lawsuits.
Sure.
And honestly, I'd be willing to bet it's upping the price of certain classes of electronics by as much as 20%. And it's ridiculous. It really is. You know, it hurts every single person's bottom line. Us bottom line. Not it pisses me the frick off. It's another interesting little tidbit thing. You know, you were talking about the Beatles thing last week.
Yes.
There's actually some statistics in here that are actually showing that exclusive is really beneficial to Apple. Money well spent. It's estimated that at a minimum, it's probably boosting iTunes sales by 1.6%. And given the volume of transactions that go through the iTunes marketplace, 1.6% is nothing to sneeze at.
Wow.
I mean, that's a crap load of money. That's, you know, I hate to admit this, but I have listened to almost no Beatles songs. Like I'm sitting.
My wife's uncle lives here. He is totally a Beatles fan. Totally. I mean, just through and through. Totally. So, but I'm not. I have not much. I don't know. I don't care for it.
I mean, I'm sure I've heard more than I think I have, because I mean, it's the Beatles. You know, I'm sure I've listened to Beatles and not realized it's the Beatles. I feel like a square. I'm like, you know, I should know what the Beatles are, but I'm like, I mean, I know who they are. It's just I'm like, okay, yeah, they come off the boat. They give everyone the finger.
Right.
They tell everyone it's peace. You know, it's like,
Now, you read this iFlow reader. This is coming from the 30% subscription deal that Apple is doing through iTunes, and this is the first company to go out and say, you know, screw you, Apple. You're essentially taking the profits away from us, and any e-reader now will not be able to make enough to survive on the iOS platform. And so they got a bit, you could say, unprofessional in the response, but nonetheless, it was nice. I guess it's nice from their point of view in saying, look, we did put up this much investment. It's good to know, or maybe get the information out there to people that in the blogosphere that do argue this kind of thing. That, you know, this is how we feel as developers. We're pretty pissed off at Apple. We wanted to make it known that we're pissed off at Apple for putting as much investment. This guy was saying he was spending somewhere around, I guess, $30,000 a month keeping the business afloat and.
Well, no, and see, this is the thing. The Apple fanboys are going to bite our heads off for getting into this. But
here's my just clear statement. Apple has a right to do it. Business is a risk, but then it's going to go back to my mantra in that Apple is many times is not about keeping options open that I find are better for the consumer, and I think Apple should take some philosophy in saying, hey, let's keep some options open.
It's not even about keeping options open for the consumer. At the end of the day, what this is very much about is the way the digital content industry works, especially when you're reselling other people's content. Um, it, Apple's goal here is to drive all of these guys out of business. They want to be the only middleman. You know, that now they're still going to have
platform, obviously. But don't you think it's going to end up killing their platform in the end?
Well, no. See, that is the thing. Google wants to be a middleman too, but they're not interested in killing all other middlemen. And yeah, I say here, at the end of the day, it's real simple. If my profit margin is 15%, and in the case of digital content, the profit margin can be as low as 5%. You know, it can literally, you know, you're like, oh, these guys are making all this money. No. They aren't. They're giving money for payment processing. They're giving money to have access to the content, and they're giving share, like between the artist unions, like on the case of music or subscription stuff, you know, some goes to the editors, some then goes to the content owner. So it's like that pie gets chopped up on some. The distributor, in some cases, makes as little as 5 cents on the dollar. So if Apple comes in and goes, out of your 5 cents on the dollar, we want all of it plus 6 times as much. They're like,
what happens to the Kindle app? Are they going to shut out Amazon? Or are they going to make a special deal with Amazon? Because Amazon's got a pretty darn big following. A lot of people in uproar.
The way it works on Amazon right now is the Kindle app.
No, but how does it? That's a subscription service through the iPhone. So they're going to eliminate the middleman of the Kindle app.
Well, here's the thing: you cannot buy a Kindle book from an iOS device.
What do you mean, like a Kindle exclusive book?
No, you can't buy Kindle books from an iOS device. You have to go to.
They shut that out, right? They shut off e-books, and now it's iBooks, right?
No, I mean the Kindle app is on the store, but you can't buy a Kindle book through iOS. You have to open up Safari and go to Amazon.com and buy the Kindle book. So that isn't against the terms of service, but you know it's a less seamless user experience. You know, there's no reason you couldn't have that buy button in the Amazon app, except for Amazon would lose money every time you did it.
So Amazon is the way they work basically is a bit different. They're not selling subscriptions through. They're just saying you're going to buy your stuff through us, and if you just happen to want to read our content on the iPhone, that's fine.
We have an app for that, yeah. It's the thing. Now, they'd like to do it, but because of the way Apple's doing the shunt, they can't really afford to do it. And it's a night and day difference. I mean, on the Kindle, you can just, through that WhisperNet, go, yeah, I want this, I want that. It's like, shove this, bookmark this, and send it over there. It's a much better experience. And there's no reason that experience couldn't come to iOS, except there's the clause that really kills this is that Apple says we want all the money and then more money than you're making, but you're not allowed to change the price to deal with that extra cost. You know, even eBay doesn't do this. eBay doesn't say, yeah, Mr. Website Owner, you have to charge the same price on eBay you do on your own personal website that has nothing to do with eBay. eBay doesn't do that. If you want to charge more to sell something on eBay, and a number of businesses do, because they have to pay the eBay fees, they like charge $1 more or whatever to deal with the eBay and PayPal fees. Because it's the cost of doing business over there. Like, you want to go over there? Fine. It costs this much because I have more costs over there. Apple, on the other hand, goes, no, you can't do that. You have to have the same price on your own site that you have in our marketplace that has way more costs. And that's the deal breaker here. people would be willing to put up with this 30% if they could charge the consumer for it. Because if your profit margin is if you make 5 cents selling somebody something for 99 cents and Apple wants 30 cents, that means you need to charge $1.50 for that in the Apple marketplace so that there's room for Apple to get their 45 cents. Because then there's like, okay, now there's room for Apple's 45 cents. We've charged enough for that. But Apple realized, well, wait a minute, that's going to give iOS the reputation of everything being overpriced because of Apple's cut. So we have to mandate what people do in their own home, so to speak, for them to be able to deal with that. And that's the part here that is creating the problem. I agree with you. Ultimately, it's just going to drive them all away. Which I think is really what Apple wants. That they don't want to be competing with anybody. They just want them all to go out of business. And Apple wants to be the only middleman. Because, interestingly enough, anything that goes through the iBookstore or so on and so forth, Apple doesn't have to pay themselves a 30 cents on the dollar fee. They just get to keep the 5 cents margin profit. The reality is their profit margins are the same as everyone else. I think they know that. They set this fee on purpose ridiculously high to drive these people out of business because that's who it hurts. The people.
Well, I don't think they're like saying, "Here, we're going to drive you out of business." I just think that they want.
Well, they drive them.
I really think they want to control books like iBooks to become as large as Amazon. They want to be the content provider. In other words, they want to be another Amazon. They want to rule music. They want to rule books and the movies. I mean, Netflix is next. Trust me. After this whole book deal is done, whether they win or lose, movies are next, and Netflix is going to. Trust me, it's going to happen.
Oh no, I know. Well, and there's some shades of this actually going on at Google too. Google's doing books, Google's doing movies, Google's doing. Now that's going to be interesting to see like how they target Netflix because Netflix, it's going to be hard to write.
Well, they're already renting on iTunes, but I'm saying when
Netflix
is an application, and I wonder, how does this subscription service work?
Well, no. See, that's the thing because iTunes and things like that are thought. Netflix is a subscription, and it's not a subscription originated through iOS. So, but you're right. They can do this. Like, what are they going to do? They say if you're. But see, at the end of the day, I think the end result here is going to be Apple is going to break a lot. One of the things Android really has going for it right now, especially after I/O, is just this integration. I do it, and it follows me around the cloud. It just follows me everywhere. It just seamlessly integrates. I check something here, it's now everywhere. It's on my Google TV, it's on my phone, it's on my Slate, it's on my Chrome browser. It's everywhere. I do it once, it goes everywhere. Apple could have this integration. Anybody who does a subscription here, like I buy a Kindle book, I buy it on my iPad. It now is on my iPhone, on my Kindle, it's on my Kindle. So it's everywhere. It's on the whole iWorld. It's on my Mac. It's on my phone. They could have this, but they're deliberately breaking it. And in the one hand, I think that is a monumental mistake. Because if the only way to get that experience is you have to go through Apple to get that experience, and Apple